Welcome back to another week of Destiny 2 builds. Now, first things first, I want to get just a little housekeeping out of the way, and that would be that now that we are getting closer to Witch Queen, odds are that the videos are going to slow down a little bit so I don't get burnt out before the big stuff comes out, I'm going to have videos on, weapon crafting, Void 3.0, whatever mods may come out, the reworks from Charge of Light that we learned about in last week's TWAB. There's a lot of things I'm gonna have to go over when Witch Queen, finally hits. So I'm trying to not get too burned out on this. So they're about one a week until Witch Queen. I got about 2 more lined up, and then I'm probably gonna take like an extended break to ready myself for that influx of content. Now, today we're going to be making a Behemoth Titan build again. The last one I made was for more of a passive, defensive, heal yourself, keep your friendlies alive type playstyle. Today, however, we're going to get a little aggressive. We're going to exploit the changes they made to the crystals from like glacier grenades and stuff like that. The fact that they gave them an increase in PvE damage and an increase in detonation range. I tried to do this for a hunter, but not a lot of people like to run hunters inside of PvE. So I'm going to give it a shot with Titans. Now, this Titan build has been around for a few weeks. I've been playing it for a long time and decided that I was going to go over it here on my channel. So let's get started with that. The first thing we're going to look at is Diamond Lance. Shatter or defeats targets with stasis abilities to create a stasis lance. Throw the lance to freeze targets on impact. Slam the lance into the ground to freeze targets in a small area. Now, the reason why we're looking at this is for a few reasons, and that is because they increase the fragment slot allowance from 1 to 3. Now, that is a huge buff. That allows you to slot more of your fragments to allow for a much more synergistic and strong build. Also, they also changed how Diamond Lances spawn. Killing PvE combatants with a stasis weapon, killing 3 players inside of PvP with stasis weapons without dying, killing an enemy with a stasis ability, or shattering an enemy. When you meet any of those requirements, you will spawn a Diamond Lance. Diamond Lances are really fun. And inside of, if you're in like a raid group, you're playing with friends, or you're just playing with random blueberries, people will die for these things. Like, I was doing a raid the other night running this build, and one of my homies was literally stepping in the fanatic puddles trying to get one of these things. Like, people will prioritize the Diamond Lance over anything else. It's hilarious. And the second thing we're going to be focusing on is Tectonic Harvest. Destroying Stasis Crystal provides you with a Stasis Shard that gives you melee energy when it is picked up by you or the members of your fire team. The reason we're running this is to make stasis shards. If you've seen my stasis videos in the past, you know that shards are a huge thing for the build. Between different, mods that we can use or our own fragments, which now we're going to go over the fragments we're going to use for this. First things first, Whisper of Shards. Shattering a stasis crystal temporarily boosts your grenade recharge rate. Shattering additional stasis crystals increase the duration of this benefit, as well as plus 10 resilience. Now this one, a little obvious. We're going to abuse glacier grenades and their crystals and the damage they can do. So, what better way to do it than spawning, getting more grenade energy back by shattering more crystals. The second one we're going to use is called Whisper of Rending. Kinetic weapons do increased damage to stasis crystals and frozen targets. Now, two reasons why we're using this. One, we're going to be using this to break the crystals with our kinetic weapons, which we're going to go over at the end of the video. And secondly, they increase the kinetic weapon damage versus stasis crystals by 100%, which means you have to spend less time shooting those crystals to destroy them. And when they just get destroyed, they do, 60% more damage, plus we're going to use the other fragments to boost that along as well. We have Whisper of Conduction. Nearby stasis shards track to your position, plus 10 intellect and plus 10 resilience. Now this is so that you don't die trying to get those stasis shards you're trying to make. So that 4, Whisper of Rhyme, collecting a stasis shard, grants a small amount of overshield, which falls off after 10 seconds. Collecting additional shards adds to the overshield and refreshes the timer. Now, these two I will always put together, especially for endgame content, because I don't want to make stasis shards, have to run out in the middle of the field, die trying to get my overshield. Instead, your overshield will come to you. And then lastly, we have Whisper of Fissures. Increase the damage and size of the burst of stasis when you destroy stasis crystals or defeat a frozen target. Kind of obvious again. We're looking to get more damage out of our stasis crystals. A bigger, more damaging burst is always going to be nice to use when the main point of the build is to kill things with that stasis burst. With all these things put together, with these particular stasis, things put together in your class, you already have a really, really good build. Like, just off the rip, a really good build. And now we're going to go over the armor mods that are going to make it even better. Now, the first mod we're going to talk about is Bountiful Wells. Elemental well mods that cause you to spawn elemental wells can now stack, spawning additional wells for each additional copy of the mod you have equipped. So essentially, if you have one mod, you're going to spawn an extra well. If you have two of them, you're going to spawn 3 wells. So that's really nice to have. And we're going to pair that with Explosive Well Maker. Rapidly defeating combatants with explosive damage spawns a solar elemental well. And the reason this works so well is that for whatever reason, the burst of a stasis crystal counts for this explosive damage. So now, when you kill something with your grenade explosion there, when you shatter the crystals, you're going to spawn 2 solar wells. And with that, we're going to use Elemental Charge. Become charged with light by picking up an elemental well. If the elemental well's element type matches your subclass element, gain 2 stacks of charge with light. We're not gonna get our 2 stacks for 1, but because we make 2, we get both stacks, and then you can combine that again with anything you want. You have Well of Ordnance to get more grenade energy back. I use Protective Light. While charged with light, you gain significant damage resistance against combatants when your shields are destroyed. This effect consumes all stacks of charge with light. The more stacks consumed, the longer the damage resistance lasts. The reason I use this is because, quite frankly, I don't like dying. I use this to stay alive. Some people don't use it. Some people do. It's all what you want to run. And then the last 2 mods that are going to really help are Ashes to Assets. Gain bonus super energy on grenade kills and grenade kickstart. When your grenade energy is fully expended, you gain grenade energy. Throw a grenade, get grenade energy back. Very simple. To even further this, we're going to pair this with a few weapons and armors that are going to be quite well. The 3 weapons we're really going to pair this with are Peace Bond, Ice Luna, and Vulpecula. And the reason for this is because all 3 of these weapons can roll with Headstone. And Headstone is a perk that when you get a precision kill, a stasis crystal will spawn where the enemy was. So now, if you've got a group running at you of, like, say, Thrall, get 1 headshot, shatter the crystal, all Thrall go bye-bye. They just turn into stasis dust, or whatever you want to call it. Those are really helpful. I prefer Peace Bond because I play primarily on console, and it's a little better to use. If you're on PC, Ice Luna, I know a lot of people love Ice Luna. That can roll Headstone as well. So that's another thing to keep an eye out for. And then we're going to talk about armor. Now, the first piece of armor we're going to talk about is Heart of Inmost Light, which comes with the exotic perk Overflowing Light. Using ability, Grenade, Melee, or Barricade, empowers the other 2 abilities. Empowered means abilities have faster regen, melees and grenades do more damage, and barricades have more hit points. Now, Bungie went through and made an adjustment to this exotic to make it better. Basically, they made it easier to proc the empowerment, Basically, now you throw a barricade up, your grenade and melee are going to get overcharged. You're going to get empowered. You throw your melee, now your grenade has empowered times 2, which means it's going to do, I think it's like 50% more damage, something like that. It's really good. Now, you don't need to cycle through like that. Another really honestly solid option that I might use when I get a good roll of it is Armamentarium, which comes with the most simplest exotic perk ever. And it is called And Another Thing. And all this does is give you an extra grenade. So now you can run around with 2 of those glacier nades in your pockets for basically just ice nukes, essentially. Like, you're literally just running around with ice nukes in your pocket. It's really, really fun. Like, this build is the funnest thing I've ever played with in, like, the past 4 months. Like, it is so fun. So I highly recommend that. If you have the things to make this build and set it up and put it together, do it. You will not regret this. With that being said, though, I'm recording this on, what is today? Today's the 20th of January? Yeah. TWAB's already out. You know, look at that. A lot of big changes in there, especially to like Blue Gear and like to Banshee. If you're watching this before you read that, spend your gunsmith materials. They're going to be useless when Witch Queen comes around. That's, you know, do that. Another thing, you know, there's stuff going away at the end of this season. DMT and Hawkmoon, you know, they made those changes. They talked about those changes in the TWAB today as well. But if you don't want to worry about that, just find a team. You can, you know, and go run DMT and Hawkmoon missions, Presage and Harbinger, and get your rolls. It's going to be a lot easier, and it's going to be less expensive for your materials to do so. But with that being said, I hope everybody has a good day. And if you do make this build, I hope you enjoy it greatly.